Hey, how's it going? My name is Daniel Calderon and welcome back to Corner Talks. Writing a screenplay, the courage to sit at your desk, open up your laptop or notepad and stare into the blank page, not knowing where the words will come, if the creativity or the imagination will ever strike you. And speaking from experience, I still struggle with this, even though I claim that I'm a writer, I'm a director, I'm a filmmaker, storyteller, whatever have you. I still feel the anxiety, the butterflies looking at that page because I don't know where I'm going on this journey. Now, as much as that sounds terrifying, it can also be exciting. Exciting because it's my chance to tell you, the audience, a story that I've been meaning to tell my whole life. A story that revolves around a certain character that might make you see the world in a different perspective. Or travel to new worlds and offer you that escapism if you're going through a miserable time and seeing that there's possibilities for a better life. Storytelling is a necessity. It has been done since the dawn of time, when human beings told stories to pass down their morals, their values, and ultimately their legacy. And if you or someone you know wants to write a story, well, these are my techniques on how to approach it. You talk to anyone, they're always pitching you an idea, whether it's 8 seconds, a minute, or an hour long. Everybody loves to tell you stories, and what separates them from the writers is taking it to the next level. Now, if you're writing a police story, a story that revolves around officers, whether it's a buddy cop, whether it's a criminal investigation, you need to associate yourself with that world. You can watch film and television, see how other writers do it, how the lingo, how they interact, these characters, with one another. Certain terms, the reading the Miranda rights when someone gets arrested. If you have the opportunity, you can do a ride along with a police officer. That's a great way of exposing yourself to that world and learning, again, a day in the life of a cop. Picking up a police scanner and listening in to how officers communicate with one another, how they report an investigation or a murder, a crime, whatever have you, right? It's all about exposing yourself to that world to make your story as believable as you can. What comes to mind for me is I recently wrote a feature-length screenplay that revolves around skaters, the skate culture. I had no idea how to approach it. I'm from Toronto. Skate culture is not really that big here, or at least as big as if I were living in Los Angeles, let's say. So I needed to take it one step further. And what I did is I consumed content that revolved around that world. I would watch movies. I would watch Lords of Dogtown, Skate Kitchen, mid-90s, and I would check out these movies to see, again, how characters interact, how the writers approach the material, themes or elements that I could use or that, skaters would kind of experience. Now, I took it even another step further when I went to California a couple of years ago and I visited Los Angeles. Now, I was only able to do this kind of research because the story was already in my mind, but I used it to my advantage when I was there by asking the questions, by talking to the locals. I would go to the skate shops and talk to the people that were selling the skateboards and ask them about the culture and ask them about the boards and how were designed, how were they made, what was the creativity and the graffiti for this piece. And while I was there, I was actually filming all the stuff I experienced and created a couple short films based on what I witnessed from that skate culture. And I added music to really absorb and grab the tone, the style, the mood on what I wanted to emulate in my screenplay. I'm not sure if you have to have a knack for this or if you have to be outgoing or you just have to be naturally inquisitive, but you must ask questions. You must ask yourself deep, deep, deep questions, analytical questions when you write your story. And the reason why I say this is because you want everything, again, not only to be believable, but you want things to become three-dimensional. What I mean by this is you have a character, you have a location, you have a scene. Ask yourself the questions. Why is the character there? Why are they wearing this? Why are they talking like this? Why is the location here? Why aren't they there? Why are they in a scene where, they have a drug trade as opposed to they're murdering someone? Every time you ask a question, come up with an answer. Because by doing this, you're justifying the actions in what you're writing on the screenplay. And you're making things seem and come across more cohesive. Asking the questions also forces you as the writer to expand your imagination, to elaborate that creativity, to see how far you can go with your story. I mentioned before about having things be three-dimensional. Three-dimensional is when a character is real. A character is not a cartoon. A character has motives, they have flaws, they are human. They don't excel in one certain thing and they get in trouble and have consequences for actions they may have done. Asking those questions about your character will reveal things that you don't even know that were there to begin with. In one of my stories, there's a girl that wears a hat. I wanted to ask more questions as opposed to, it's not just something she's wearing. It's not just something that's a costume piece. So then I started thinking, why is she wearing the hat? And I started to tell myself, okay, maybe she's into sports. Maybe she's wearing a hat of a sports team. And that explains her, tomboyish personality. Oh, maybe why does she have a tomboyish personality? Is it, how she grew up? Oh, her family. Maybe she comes from a family that is into sports. Maybe that's something that she wants to pursue. These questions, again, when you keep asking them, they reveal more and more and more about these characters. Whether you're a writer or not, this one is being told all the time, and that is show, don't tell. You might even think that when you're watching a film or a piece of television, you're saying to yourself, don't tell me this, just show it to me, and you don't even realize it. And that is because the medium is very visual. And the best storytellers are the ones that tell you without even speaking. That's why Alfred Hitchcock, for instance, used to always say, if you want to channel that, show, don't tell. Start off by making films where there's barely any dialogue, if nothing at all. But when I say show, don't tell, I mean through your exposition when you're writing, through how you deliver information to the audience. In The Matrix, right, we have two different worlds. We have the reality and we have the Matrix, an artificial simulation. Whenever we go to the Matrix, we as a viewer always see this green tint. Everything looks dull, depressing, and too clean. It doesn't feel lived in. And that's to establish the mood, the oppression of the machines, the deception that human beings are living. And finally, you can do show, don't tell through set pieces. For example, in Star Wars, in the opening shot, you have this huge Star Destroyer against the Rebel ship. The Star Destroyer is massive, it's vast, it's huge. The Rebel ship is very, very small. With this visual representation, this set piece, you're able to identify the conflict of good versus evil, how the good is so small and how the evil is a force to be reckoned with. And that provides tension, that provides drama to what goes on in the story. And finally, my biggest technique, because I'm sure there's so many others, but these are the ones that I find most effective when writing, and that is to finish the story. Yes, I said it, finish the story. Easier said than done, right? I just talked about how exciting, how terrifying, all the things you can run into, and all the things I mentioned, they're not gonna be easy. It takes a lot of practice. I'm not even close to being at that level. However, everyone can finish their story. I don't care how good it is, I don't care how bad it is. I want you to finish your story. Because I find that when a story just lingers, when you look back at those 20 pages completed, meanwhile you want to finish 80, that is a disservice, not only to yourself, but also the future stories you want to tell. If you really want to tell your story, please do not be fearful of writing. Do not be fearful of finishing that story. Because I'm telling you, most likely that story you're writing will probably not even be the story you want to tell. Eventually you'll look back and say, wow, I've come so far. But in order to get there, in order to get to that story that you really do want to tell, or you actually have a chance of telling, or publishing, or getting released, whatever have you, getting made, you need to start off with that first story, that second story, that third story, any story. You have to finish it, or else you'll never be able to move on to the bigger stories. You'll never be able to have that confidence. One piece of advice that I'll give you, and one thing that I take away from it, is that I tell myself the 3-page rule. 3 pages. No more, no less. You wake up early in the morning, you look at that blank page and you tell yourself, I'm gonna write 3 pages. And you just keep writing until you reach that 3 pages. You don't edit it. You can edit if you want, but you don't edit it to the point where you're dissecting it and pulling it apart. You just write and write and write. Once you hit that 3 page, if you're really done, if you really have no more energy, stop. Put it away, do something else. Draw, make a vlog, right? Do a podcast, but put it away. Tomorrow's another day. But you'll find yourself, and I'm sure you will, in those rare situations where you'll pass those 3 pages and you might even write 5 or 10. And by writing those 3 pages day by day by day and making yourself a marker of 3 pages, you're forcing yourself to overcome that writer's block. Thank you for joining me on another Corner Talks. I really hope you enjoyed my discussion on the techniques I've used on how to write a screenplay. I really hope they can benefit you as well. If you're looking to tell a story, please start right now. Start today, and remember, finish your story, because everybody's story is worth telling, even if it's just for yourself. If you agree or disagree with my techniques, please leave your comments down below. I always love to see your thoughts. Also, if you enjoyed this video, please be sure to like and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Take care, and I'll see you soon.